Good evening, and welcome to Sleep Sanctuary, where calmness and imagination meet to guide you into a restful sleep. Tonight, as the world quiets and the stillness of the evening wraps around you like a soft blanket, I invite you to leave behind the weight of your day. Let each breath guide you into a place of calm, where snow falls gently, covering the earth in a pristine, glistening white. Picture yourself walking through a small, quiet town on a winter's evening. The air is crisp, the faint scent of pine lingering, and the warm glow of light spills from shop windows. In this moment, there is no rush, no urgency, only peace and the promise of a story waiting to unfold. The story begins on a night like this, in a quiet corner of the world where magic lingers in the most unexpected places. Imagine an antique shop tucked away down a snowy lane, its windows frosted over, and its wooden sign swinging gently in the breeze. The kind of place you'd almost walk past, were it not for the soft glow of lamplight spilling through the door. Inside, shelves overflow with trinkets, each one whispering of forgotten lives and untold stories. And there, on a dusty shelf in the back, sits a snow globe, small, unassuming, and yet utterly captivating. When you shake it, snowflakes dance inside, swirling around a tiny village nestled in its glass dome. There's something about it, a spark, a pull, as if it's calling to you. And as you gaze deeper, the snow globe begins to feel alive, its magic reaching out and wrapping around you. I found myself in that very shop, drawn in by the allure of the snow globe. My fingers brushed its cool surface as I lifted it, turning it in my hands. When I gave it a gentle shake, the tiny snowstorm inside whirled to life. But this wasn't just a snow globe. As the flakes settled, I felt the ground beneath me shift, the air grow colder, and the soft sound of laughter reach my ears. In an instant, I wasn't in the shop anymore. I was standing in the heart of a bustling winter village, lanterns glowing warmly against the twilight sky. My journey had begun. Take a moment now to let go of the story for a little while and allow yourself to drift deeper into relaxation. Picture yourself seated by a window, gazing out at a tranquil winter scene. Snow falls softly, each flake unique and weightless, blanketing the earth in a quiet, pristine stillness. The world feels at peace, and so too can you. Close your eyes and focus on your breath, slow and steady. Breathe in deeply, letting the crisp, cool air fill your lungs, and exhale, releasing any tension you might be holding. With each breath, imagine the snow falling more gently, wrapping you in its serene embrace. Now, picture the warmth of a crackling fire nearby, its soft light flickering against the walls of a cozy room. Feel its comforting heat against your skin, easing away any lingering stress. The faint scent of pine and cinnamon fills the air, adding to the peacefulness of the moment. As you relax further, let your mind wander to the sound of soft winter melodies in the distance, subtle and soothing, like a lullaby. The notes blend seamlessly with the rhythmic hush of the falling snow, creating a harmony that lulls you into a state of perfect calm. Here, in this stillness, there's no need to rush, no need to worry. You are safe, warm, and completely at ease. Stay in this moment for as long as you'd like, allowing the gentle ambience to cradle you in peace. When you're ready, we'll return to the story, a tale of magic, wonder, and discovery. But for now, simply breathe, rest, and enjoy the quiet beauty of winter's embrace. As the swirling sensation subsided, I opened my eyes to a sight that took my breath away. I was no longer in the dusty antique shop. Before me was a picturesque winter village, alive with an enchanting glow. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, sparkling as they fell onto cobblestone streets. Lanterns lined the pathways, their warm golden light casting a comforting glow on the world. The air was filled with the soft hum of music, the cheerful laughter of children, and the faint jingling of sleigh bells in the distance. I took a step forward, the crunch of snow beneath my boots grounding me in this magical place. Everywhere I looked, there was life and joy. Villagers, bundled in colorful scarves and coats, moved through the streets with cheerful purpose. Some carried baskets filled with fresh bread and sweets, while others paused to greet one another with warm smiles. A group of children played near a towering pine tree adorned with twinkling lights and sparkling ornaments, their laughter ringing through the crisp air. Despite the cold, the village exuded warmth. I couldn't help but feel drawn to its charm, as though I had stepped into a storybook brought to life. But as I wandered further, a strange sensation began to creep into my thoughts. At first, it was subtle, an odd sense of familiarity. I passed a baker handing out loaves of bread, his smile kind and unchanging. A woman at the corner of the street hummed a soft tune as she arranged flowers in a cart. It was beautiful, yes, but something felt repetitive. As I continued walking, I realized I had seen the baker hand out the same loaf to the same person moments ago. The woman's song was no longer soothing but eerie in its unchanging rhythm. I stopped to watch the scene around me more carefully. The children near the pine tree threw snowballs in perfect synchrony, their laughter looping like a melody on repeat. A man tipped his hat to passers-by at regular intervals, his movements precise and mechanical. My breath caught as the realization began to settle in. This wasn't just a charming village. It was a village caught in a cycle, repeating the same moments endlessly, like a clock wound too tight. Pushing aside my unease, I decided to talk to someone, to understand what was happening. I approached an elderly man seated on a bench near the town square. His eyes sparkled with kindness as he greeted me. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" he said, his voice warm but oddly rehearsed. "It is," I replied, choosing my words carefully. But have you noticed anything unusual about this place?" He chuckled, his laugh soft but hollow. "Unusual? No, nothing unusual here. Just another lovely winter's day." I pressed further. "Have you always lived here?" The man hesitated, his smile faltering for the briefest moment before returning. "Of course. I've been here as long as I can remember." His answer left me more unsettled. It wasn't just the repetition, it was the way the villagers seemed blissfully unaware of it, as if they were trapped in a dream they couldn't wake from. As I continued to wander, the joy of the village began to feel like a mask, hiding something deeper. The laughter, the music, the glowing lights, it was all too perfect, too controlled. I began to wonder, what was the truth of this place? The snow globe had brought me here for a reason. And as I stood in the middle of the bustling square, watching the same scenes play out over and over, I realized it was up to me to uncover that reason. Something about this village, its magic, its people, was calling for help. But how could I help them when I didn't yet understand the nature of their plight? The answers, I suspected, lay hidden somewhere in the heart of this enchanted village. I just had to find them. The deeper I ventured into the village, the stronger the sense of déjà vu became. Every detail seemed to fold back on itself, conversations, actions, even the snowflakes falling from the sky felt unnervingly identical. It wasn't just repetition, it was a perfect, seamless loop. Time itself wasn't moving forward here. Determined to understand, I began observing the villagers more closely. The cheerful baker handed out loaves of bread at precise intervals, his actions never straying from their routine. The flower vendor across the street arranged her bouquets with meticulous care, humming the same haunting tune as before. The children near the pine tree continued their snowball fight, their laughter frozen in its endless cycle. And yet, beneath their smiles, I noticed something else, a flicker of sadness. It was fleeting, almost imperceptible, but it was there. The flower vendor's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her cart. The baker's smile faltered for a fraction of a second as he passed another loaf. Even the children's laughter, so joyous on the surface, carried a faint undertone of longing. I approached the flower vendor, a kind face lighting up as I drew near. "Lovely flowers," I said, trying to break the loop of her routine. "Have you been selling them long?" "Oh, yes," she replied, her voice melodic but distant. "As long as I can remember. Every day is a perfect day for flowers, isn't it?" "Every day?" I pressed gently. "Doesn't it ever feel like the same day?" Her hands paused mid-motion, the hum of her tune faltering. For a moment, her gaze turned distant, as though she were grasping for a memory just out of reach. "I suppose it does, sometimes," she said softly. But isn't that a good thing? To live in such a perfect day? Before I could respond, her routine snapped back into place, her hands resuming their careful work, her hum restarting as though nothing had happened. It wasn't until I reached the edge of the village that I encountered someone different. Sitting on a bench beneath a snow-laden tree was a figure cloaked in deep grey, their presence both unsettling and comforting. Unlike the villagers, they didn't move in repetition. Instead, they watched me with a knowing gaze, as if they'd been waiting for me. "You feel it, don't you?" the figure said, their voice low and resonant. "This place isn't what it seems." I nodded, stepping closer. "What is this place? Why is everything repeating?" The figure gestured toward the village with a gloved hand. "This is the village of the Snow Globe, a creation of magic and memory. The people here are caught in a loop, reliving the same day endlessly. They don't realize it because they're trapped in the comfort of what they once wished for, a perfect, unchanging moment. But why? Who did this to them?" I asked, my voice tinged with frustration. "It wasn't done to them," the figure replied. "It was done for them. Long ago, a wish was made, a desperate plea to preserve the joy of a single day forever. That wish gave life to the snow globe's magic, but it also became a curse. The villagers can't move forward, can't grow or change. They're frozen in the perfection of the past." I felt a pang of sadness as I looked back at the cheerful faces of the villagers. Their happiness was real, but it was hollow, fragile, like the snowflakes drifting around them. "How can I help them?" I asked, my determination solidifying. The figure leaned closer, their voice dropping to a whisper. "To break the loop, you must find the source of the wish. It's hidden within the heart of the village, but be warned, undoing the wish means unearthing the truths these people have long buried. Some may not want to wake from their perfect dream." I nodded, knowing I couldn't turn back now. The Enchanted Snow Globe had brought me here for a reason. If this village was to be freed, I would need to uncover the wish and the secrets it concealed. Armed with the figure's cryptic advice, I wandered back into the village, determined to find the source of the wish that held this place in its frozen perfection. The cheerful hum of the village seemed brighter than ever, as though trying to mask the deeper truth I now knew. But I could no longer ignore the hollow echoes beneath the joy. As I walked, my eyes were drawn to the towering pine tree in the town square. Its branches glittered with ornaments of every color, shimmering as though the light inside them was alive. At its base, a small wooden chest was tucked among the snow-covered roots, its surface adorned with intricate carvings. Something about it called to me, and I knew instinctively that it was connected to the village's secret. Kneeling beside the chest, I brushed away the snow and examined its carvings. They depicted scenes of the village, children playing, bakers working, couple strolling under the lanterns. But as I looked closer, I noticed something strange. In each carving, there was a faint, shadowy figure watching from the edges, their face turned away. With a deep breath, I opened the chest. Inside, I found a small, handwritten journal bound in leather. Its pages were yellowed with age, and the ink had faded in places. The first page was inscribed with a name, Clara. Beneath it, in delicate handwriting, were the words, "For the joy we wish to last forever." As I flipped through the journal, it became clear that it belonged to a woman who once lived in the village. Her entries were filled with descriptions of the townspeople and their lives, written with a deep affection. She spoke of the baker's kindness, the children's laughter, the flower vendor's songs. But as the pages went on, her tone shifted. Clara wrote of a harsh winter that had descended upon the village, a winter that threatened to take everything. Crops failed, food ran scarce, and the once lively streets grew empty. She described her growing desperation, how the joy and light of the village seemed to dim with each passing day. In her final entry, she wrote, "I cannot bear to see this place fade. If there is magic in this world, let it save us. Let this one perfect day last forever." It hit me then, Clara had made the wish that created the snow globe. Her love for the village, her longing to preserve its happiness, had sparked the magic that now held everyone in its unending loop. But her wish, while well-intentioned, had become a trap. The villagers were no longer living, they were existing in a memory, unable to move forward. The happiness Clara had fought to preserve had become hollow, devoid of growth, change, or true meaning. As I closed the journal, I felt a mix of admiration and sadness for Clara. Her love for her community had been powerful enough to create this magical world, but it had also taken away its soul. I stood and looked around the village square, at the familiar, repeating scenes. The children by the tree, the baker in his shop, the flower vendor with her cart. They were beautiful, yes, but they were also incomplete. I glanced back at the journal, its weight heavy in my hands. Somewhere within these pages, I felt, was the key to undoing Clara's wish and setting the village free. But to break the loop, I would have to face whatever truths lay buried alongside her magic. The figure's warning echoed in my mind, some may not want to wake from their perfect dream. I knew what I had to do. I needed to find Clara, if not her, then the remnants of her magic, and confront the heart of her wish. It was the only way to free the village and let its people live again. With the journal in hand, I retraced my steps to the quiet bench where the cloaked figure had first appeared. They were gone now, but their words lingered like an echo. To break the loop, I had to find the heart of Clara's wish. The journal was my guide, and somewhere within its faded pages lay the answer. I sat beneath a snow-laden tree and flipped through the entries again. Each page painted a vivid picture of the village as Clara saw it, a place of warmth and belonging, even in the harshest winter. She wrote of her favorite moments: a child's laughter, the bakery's aroma, the glow of lanterns on snow-covered streets. But one passage stood out, its ink smudged as though written in haste. The old bell tower holds the village's soul. It is there I'll make my wish, for it watches over us all. If the magic listens, it will begin there. The bell tower. I had seen its silhouette rising above the village, a sentinel against the winter sky. Something about it had drawn my attention before, but now I knew it was the key. Clara had made her wish there, and it was there I would find the truth. The path to the bell tower was steep and winding, lined with evergreen trees dusted in snow. As I climbed, the sounds of the village began to fade, replaced by a heavy stillness. The closer I got, the more the air seemed to hum with an energy both enchanting and foreboding. At last, I reached the base of the tower. Its weathered stones were blanketed in frost, and its wooden door creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, the air was cold and thick with the scent of aged timber. A narrow spiral staircase led upward, disappearing into the shadows. As I ascended, a sense of unease settled over me. The walls were lined with carvings, much like the chest beneath the pine tree. They depicted scenes of joy and festivity, but now I noticed something more: cracks running through the images, splitting smiles and breaking patterns. It was as if the magic itself was fracturing. At the top of the staircase, I emerged into the bell chamber. The room was circular, its stone walls adorned with frost-covered ivy. In the center stood the bell, massive and silent, its surface engraved with intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer faintly in the dim light. Near the bell was a small pedestal, and atop it rested an object that made my breath catch, a snow globe, identical to the one I'd found in the antique shop. Inside it was a perfect replica of the village, its tiny streets alive with movement, its pine tree glowing softly. As I reached for the snow globe, a voice stopped me. "You've come far," it said, soft and melodic. I turned to see a figure standing in the shadows, her features faintly illuminated by the light of the snow globe. She was dressed in simple, timeless clothing, her face kind yet weary. "Clara," I whispered. She nodded. "I am what remains of her. The wish I made binds me here, just as it binds the village." "Why did you do it?" I asked, my voice gentle but firm. "Why trap everyone in this loop?" Her expression softened with sadness. "It wasn't meant to be a trap. I only wanted to preserve the joy, to save my home from the pain of that terrible winter. I didn't realize the cost, what it would mean to stop time." "Then let me help you," I said, stepping closer. "Let me break the loop. They deserve to live, Clara, not just exist in a memory." Clara hesitated, her gaze flickering to the snow globe. To undo the wish, you must shatter the heart of the magic. But be warned, doing so will not bring joy or perfection. It will bring life, with all its beauty and pain. I nodded, determination hardening within me. They deserve the chance to choose. Clara gave me a faint smile, stepping aside. Then do what must be done. With trembling hands, I reached for the snow globe, the weight of Clara's legacy pressing heavily on me. The magic pulsed faintly beneath my fingers, and I knew the moment of truth was near. The snow globe trembled in my hands, its magic humming faintly, as if alive and aware of my presence. Inside, the tiny village sparkled, perfect and serene, yet I now knew the truth of its hollow beauty. Clara's words lingered in my mind. To shatter the heart of the magic will bring life, with all its beauty and pain. I hesitated, staring into the snow globe. Could I truly take this step? The villagers were happy, even if their joy was shallow and incomplete. By breaking the wish, I risked unearthing truths that might bring pain. But was a life of unchanging perfection truly worth the cost of freedom? As if sensing my doubt, Clara spoke softly from the shadows. You hesitate because you care. That is the burden of those who choose to act. But remember, what is life without its imperfections? Without its struggles and triumphs? Her words gave me the clarity I needed. I had come this far, and I couldn't abandon these people to an eternity of repetition. They deserved the chance to live fully, even if it meant facing uncertainty. Taking a deep breath, I tightened my grip on the snow globe. The pulse of its magic grew stronger, as though resisting my resolve. For a moment, it felt as though the weight of the entire village rested in my hands. I raised the globe high and, with a single decisive motion, brought it down against the stone floor. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the bell chamber, followed by a deafening silence. Tiny shards of glass scattered across the floor, catching the dim light like fragments of a starry sky. The miniature village within the snow globe dissolved into a swirling mist that seemed to rise and envelop the room. Suddenly, the bell above me began to ring. Its deep, resonant tone reverberated through the tower and out into the village below. The sound carried with it a strange, almost tangible energy, as if it were peeling back the layers of magic that had held the village captive. I stumbled to the window and looked out. The village below was changing. The perfect snowflakes that had fallen endlessly now swirled unpredictably, driven by a lively wind. The children playing beneath the pine tree stopped, their laughter fading into confusion. The baker froze mid-motion, his smile faltering as his eyes widened in sudden awareness. All around, the villagers began to stir, their movements no longer part of the seamless loop. Expressions of confusion, fear, and even awe spread across their faces. It was as if they were waking from a long dream, finally seeing their world for what it was. I descended the spiral staircase, my heart pounding as I stepped back into the village square. The energy in the air was electric, charged with both uncertainty and possibility. Villagers clustered together, whispering in hushed tones, their gazes darting toward me as I approached. The flower vendor, the one I had spoken to earlier, was the first to step forward. What happened?" she asked, her voice trembling. I met her gaze, trying to convey reassurance. "You've been freed," I said. "The loop is broken. You're no longer trapped in the same day." Her eyes widened, and tears began to well up. "But we were happy. Why would you?" Before she could finish, the baker interjected. "Were we truly happy, though?" he asked, his voice tinged with a newfound awareness. I remember feeling empty, as if something was missing. Others murmured in agreement, their expression shifting as they began to recall fragments of the loop, the endless repetition, the faint but persistent sense of longing. Clara appeared then, her form faint and translucent, like a memory taking its final bow. "The choice was not mine to make," she said, her voice carrying both sorrow and peace. "But you are free now. What you do with that freedom is up to you." The villagers turned to her, their expressions a mix of gratitude and grief. "Thank you," one of them said softly. Clara smiled faintly, her gaze meeting mine one last time. "Thank you for giving them back their lives," she said. And with that, she faded into the swirling snow, her presence dissolving like the final notes of a song. As the villagers began to talk and explore their newfound freedom, I felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and hope. The perfect day was over, but a new chapter was beginning. Life, with all its imperfections, had returned. And it was beautiful. The snow had begun to fall gently as the bells' echoes faded into the distance. The village, no longer frozen in time, felt alive in a way I had never seen before. It wasn't just the movement of people, the chatter and laughter that now rang out. It was the feeling of possibility, of life resuming its natural course. I stood in the center of the square, watching the villagers as they adjusted to their newfound freedom. Some wept, overwhelmed by the weight of memories they hadn't been able to process. Others hugged their loved ones tightly, grateful to feel more than the empty joy that had filled their days before. The flower vendor approached me, her hand clutching her bouquet of winter blooms. "It feels strange," she said, her voice soft. "For so long, I thought I was happy. But now, I feel so much more. Sadness for what I lost. Hope for what I can still find. Is this what it means to truly live?" I nodded, meeting her gaze. Life isn't perfect, and it's never easy. But it's real. The moments of joy mean more because they are fleeting. And the hard times, they shape us, make us stronger. She smiled, her tears glistening in the light of the lanterns. Thank you for giving us this chance. As she walked away, I noticed the children laughing as they built a snowman, their joy now unrestrained and unforced. The baker was handing out fresh bread, not because it was part of the loop, but because he wanted to. For the first time, the village wasn't trapped in an idealized past, it was moving forward. I found myself wandering back to the bell tower, drawn by the quiet that had settled over it. Inside, the shattered fragments of the snow globe remained on the floor, glinting faintly like the remnants of a dream. I crouched down and picked up a small shard, turning it over in my hand. The piece of glass still held a faint shimmer of magic, a reminder of the wish that had created this place. Clara's wish had been born out of love and fear, and though it had trapped the villagers, it had also preserved their beauty for a time. I couldn't blame her for wanting to hold on to something so precious. But now I understood something I hadn't before. Beauty doesn't come from perfection, it comes from change, from the fleeting nature of every moment. The snow falls, melts, and falls again. The seasons turn, bringing joy and sorrow in equal measure. That's what makes life worth living. As I stood there, the faint outline of Clara appeared once more, her presence now softer and more peaceful. "You did well," she said, her voice like a gentle breeze. "I hope so," I replied. "But what about you? Are you free now too?" She smiled, her figure fading even as she spoke. "I am. And so are they. Thank you." And with that, she was gone, leaving only the stillness of the bell tower behind. I stepped outside, taking one last look at the village. The people were moving on, their lives no longer bound by the loop. It felt like watching the first rays of dawn after a long night, a beginning, full of promise. The snow globe may have been shattered, but its magic had left something behind, a reminder to cherish the present, no matter how imperfect it might be. As I turned to leave the village, I carried that lesson with me. The snow fell softly around me, each flake unique and fleeting, and I couldn't help but smile. Life, I realized, is like a snowfall, beautiful because it doesn't last. When I finally returned to my world, stepping out of the antique shop as if waking from a dream, the streets were quiet. I looked down at the shard of the snow globe I had kept, its faint shimmer catching the light, and I knew I'd never see the world the same way again. Every moment mattered, every fleeting joy and every passing sorrow. That was the magic of life, and I was ready to embrace it.